Hey guys, T-Bull here. Today I got a game in the Biscuit for your ranked mode game. Swirsky on the screen. We got Tago, we got Bay, double concealment, of course, with Tago at the level I have it at, which is 16.2. It cuts down how long the time between when the torps first appear on the enemy's screen and when they actually get to where the ship is by about a second and a half, which is a dramatic decrease. So very powerful. Anyone who has the Tago from the Azure Lane campaign or whatever it was a couple months ago, pump some points into that puppy and put it on any destroyers that are kind of focused on the torps. I don't run it on the Americans, the Russians. Don't think I run it on the French, at least currently, but very powerful inspiration. Anyways, I spawn by C, so I'm going to C. My quote-unquote friendly destroyer spawned by A. He's going towards C. That's a poor play right off the bat. That's a huge pet peeve. Most of the time, that's an automatic loss, especially if your entire team abandons one of the points like that. Like, they're given B, we're given C. A is meant to be contested. So, if you give up the cap that's meant to be contested right off the bat, that's going to put yourself in a huge mathematical deficit that's going to take the majority of the game to climb out of if it's ever ends up being possible. A lot of times it isn't. So extremely annoying. I don't like when they do that. Normally when I'm playing a destroyer and I see the other destroyer do that, I'll be forced to burn my engine boost. I'll turn around and go to the other cap, but for whatever reason I didn't do it this time. Maybe I was crabby or whatever. Anyway, we're pushing in here. Now, if you can get into position early, you can get some torps down. Now, I don't know what's spotting the kid. It's probably that goofy destroyer. It was briefly spotting him, so you can get a read on him, but you can capture your base, push forward, and launch torps into their enemy base. Then you want to pull back. You don't want to be that close to the enemy team. Talk about this a lot when we're talking about destroyers. You want to be closer to your support ships than the enemy destroyers are to theirs. And anyway, if you get those torps down randomly, that's what we talk about a lot, called zoning the caps, where we're just kind of throwing them down, making it very hazardous for these destroyers to be sitting in those caps or sailing through the caps. And here you can see the advantage of the Biscuit. You know, the kid is a very dangerous ship for any destroyer, but at this range, his guns are a lot more floaty than the Biscuits, which are nice flat firing arcs, similar to what you see on kind of the Russian ships. So while the kid's, raw DPM is damage per minute's better than mine, just the fact that we're able to get those shells on target a little bit more efficiently actually makes the actual DPM, I think, at least better in this case. If you're aiming really spot on with the kid, then of course you can rack up the damage. And I enjoy using the kid a lot for counter destroyer play, but we're able to get rid of him there. We get the first blood and take out half of their destroyers. Now, they haven't capped A yet, and some of our teams actually deciding to go over there, which is kind of testament to the poor play on both sides, I guess. You got to get these caps early, and you got to hold on to them. So the fact that that one's uncontested to this point is just kind of a little bit shocking to me. But I think this was actually the lower bowl. As I started off rank 5, got knocked down a couple games, had kind of a rocky start, ended up in the mid 6, rank 6 with 2 stars or something like that. And down there, you see some goofy stuff, man, let me tell you. So this is, I think, one of the lower bowl games. Regular domination, capturing the objectives is important. Rank mode, the score goes up very quickly. Just keep an eye on the top of the screen there, and you'll see how quick the score goes up. Here we get some torps from the Akatsuki that's still left alive. Widespread torps, cue the angelic sounds there. That's a gift from our friend in the Akatsuki who evidently meant us no harm. He just wanted to spread those torps out there to let us know that he's thinking of us, I guess. So very nice. Kind of a heartwarming message there. Widespread torps, unless you're point blank range, in my opinion, are completely worthless. You can dodge them, broadside with an Iowa blindfolded and have a lot of success dodging them. Just use your narrow spreads. Much more effective. And I guess I should point out here, I think coming up in this match later on, we do, speaking of point blank torps, we end up actually taking a salvo from that Akatsuki closer than point blank, like they actually hit us and don't go off, Right there, you see, next time I pull that torp indicator up, there's a gap between my ship and when the shaded area begins, both on the aim indicator and kind of the filled in zone of the possible angles I can shoot the torp. So next time we pull them up, take a note on that. Just kind of familiarize yourself with it. A lot of people don't understand that there is the gap between the ship and your aiming systems. And that is the distance that, there it is right there. You see the blue water in between me and the orange shaded area there? If those torps hit the target in that area, they do not detonate. The fuse is not yet armed on them. So keep that in mind. We're actually going to see that coming our way later on in a little bit of a dicey play. But right now, what's going on? The CNOP is proxy spotting me now. He's got the mod. Every battleship tier 6 and 7, assuming they got their mods on, has a 3-kilometer proxy spot. Now, all the other ships have 2 kilometers, so as long as I'm within 3 kilometers of him, his entire team can see me, but I can't necessarily see him unless someone else is spotting him until I get into 2-kilometer range. So you don't want to get too close to those battleships to begin with, but even if you have island cover in between you and them, if you close in between closer than 3 kilometers, you're still going to get spotted, so keep that in mind. That was a little bit of dicey play there. I was calling out the New Orleans, trying to get some shots on him so he'd get scared away, but luckily we were able to disengage before game became too big of a problem. And there you see pokes around the island, and he spotted us naturally until we pulled out further and got out of his range. Now once we've disengaged, we're going to pop over here and help Cap here. Number one, we can't really get into that B area. Most of their team is just sitting on it, so I can't really push in there and contest that Cap anyways. I can get over here though. The Nelson got pushed northward, so I can get into this Cap without getting detected. Yeah, my buddy over here can probably capture it. The Nelson could keep resetting them though. But since I'm playing solo, I want to focus on getting my XP up as well. And even if I pop over here for 5-10 seconds, that's going to boost my score. Make sure that I'm going to wind up at the top of the scoreboard. Which if you're playing ranked as a solo player, that should be basically your primary consideration. You know, it kind of sounds sad, but you want to be doing things that are going to help your team win. That'll help your score, and it should increase your odds of winning. But, you know, playing with randoms, they're unreliable. They're not going to... Sometimes they don't even try and win. Sometimes they actually do stuff that guarantees a loss, even though, you know, a minute or two in the past, you had a win set up for them. But, you know, whenever you die in this game in ranked mode, your team immediately starts putting plans in place to overturn any work you've done. So try and stay alive. In my ranked preview video, I kind of said I didn't think destroyers would be as dominant this time. I've kind of gone back on that now. I've gone back to just playing the Biscuit, and I might switch over to the Moss if the need arises. But, you know, the radar cruisers are a threat. I think in maybe the 10 or so ranked games I played today, probably got radared twice, and one of them was like a really good radar. But most of the people that are in Belfast, which is usually the radar ships you see, they just sit in the back in clouds doing basically nothing. So until the player base figures out how to play radar cruisers, they're not... I mean, they can be a threat. You got to respect them, because you never know if the guy you're going up against actually knows what they're doing. But it's not a big enough threat to really diminish the effectiveness of the destroyer. So, in my opinion, if you're good at destroyer, like good enough to win games, a lot of games in destroyers, then play that, because that's going to give you the best carry potential. But you got to have an honest assessment with yourself. If you're not a good destroyer player, just don't do it, because bad destroyer play will lose a lot of games too, and it's not going to help you out, and it's not going to help your team out either if you know, you're kind of forcing yourself into a ship just because I say it's, you know, the best class to carry in currently. Only if you got the skills to do it. If you don't, you know, just stick with whatever class you're best at, most comfortable with. That's going to give you the best results. Anyway, we've obviously capped A. Now we're getting back in a position to do some damage here. This CNOP's been kind of holding down his little spot on this island for quite a bit. It's causing some problems, kind of preventing me from getting in there, at least comfortably, with the support ships. If those ships weren't that close to him, I could just run up to him and nuke him, no problem. But The problem is if I get that close to him, he's got support 2 feet behind him. So that's an issue. And then that Akatsuki is last spotted to the east here. We're not currently spotted by him, but you know, we should assume he's in the area here. So we can see C's contested. I guess we kind of know exactly where he is. He's in that cloud. So now that we know where he is, I'm going to move in, try and remove that destroyer. As a destroyer, whether or not your destroyer is set up for hunting other destroyers, you need to be involved with hunting them. You need to help spot them, torp their positions, do anything you can. Even, you know, stay close to your support ships if you can't. If you're in an Akatsuki, for instance, like this guy. And here's what I'm talking about earlier. He launches one set off to the right there, and then he sees me closing in. I thought he was going for the ram, so I was like, damn, I just threw this game. All he had to do was ram me there. It would have been actually a very good play. Torps me point blank range, though, hits all 3 of them. And I luckily slammed on the brakes and got out of his way. So I didn't accidentally ram him, because I'm pretty sure both of our ships would have blown up. That would have been a disaster at this juncture in the game. But luckily, you know, what happened was he torped within that gap between his ship and when the aim indicator starts. Again, you can see it on the screen, that blue gap. That's how close I was to him. So if you ever get a ship that close, and it doesn't happen very often, I think that's like the first or second time I can ever recall getting torped by torps that hadn't armed yet. So pretty rare, but it's just something to keep in mind, something to be aware of. Anyway, New Orleans is kind of turning broadside here. We pop the smoke, we stop, drop him down. Had some torps on the CNOP. Got the Kraken on the New Orleans. CNOP's kind of dead in the water. I think he's probably trying to back up, but battleship's starting and stopping. Obviously a clunky affair. And then it occurs to me at this point that, well, we're one ship away from killing the entire enemy team in ranked. And talking about having to carry the load, I'm not saying nobody else in my team did anything this game, because obviously I don't have 300k damage or whatever I would have needed to be the only contributor. But, you know, what? Had we had a little bit more time in this game, we could have actually killed every ship on the enemy team, which is just ridiculous. So, 6 kills, 2 captures, and the sad thing is, had they captured A right off the bat instead of taking the time like our team did, they probably would have won on score. So, every time I put a video up on ranked, I'm going to talk about the importance of playing the objectives. Even a game where we have 6 kills here, the game is decided on score. Almost every single domination ranked game is decided on score. That's what you got to focus on. That's where your success is going to be at. So anyway, that's a look at the Biscuit. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. Questions, comments, leave them below. I do love to hear from you guys. And we'll see y'all later. All right, peace.